Okay, the recording is now on. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Baltimore County Board of Appeals. This is a public deliberation in the matter of Gray Rock Properties LLC. It's CBA number 21-273-SPHX. And the question before us, a couple of questions before us. The first is whether the catering operation, which is being conducted from the property, represents a non-conforming use dating back to, it was continuous and uninterrupted prior to the enactment of the, I guess it would be the 1980 CZMP, which changed the zoning to DR 3.5, which doesn't permit catering. So if the catering predates that zoning change and has been continuous without interruption or significant interruption, then it can continue. There's also a request for a special exception to allow a caretaker apartment in the primary building, and they also want a modified parking plan. So that's, I think, the context. All of the zoning requests for relief are being opposed by 3 local community organizations, and we had one day of hearings, just one hearing, and everyone testified, and the council, Lawrence Schmidt and Michael McCann, each submitted memos. So I think that covers the background, if I'm not mistaken. Does anyone
so?
Okay.
The only thing, Mr. Evans, I believe you said the zoning changed in 1980. I believe it was 2000.
2000. Okay. Yes. Sorry.
The other question I might have is whether there's a continuance for the parking area and lawn, whether that's grandfathered in. I jotted that down as a possible question, or is that covered under what you consider the first item, the non-conforming?
Well, I mean, I think it could be considered. I'd have to look back. I didn't focus on that, frankly. But I think that, as my notes reflect, the non-conforming use as involving the parking. But I think the parking also was perhaps no, I'm honestly not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Looking at my notes. Anyway, well, I'll look at maybe we could look at the memos real quick and see what's required. But in the meantime, why don't we start? Does anyone want to start? Want me to start? Anyone have any?
Whatever you prefer, Mr. Chairman, is fine with me.
Well, let me jump to the bottom line. I would find that there has been uninterrupted use since 2000. I mean, the record isn't perfect, but it's certainly substantial enough, it seems to me, to justify continuance of this activity. And I think it's regrettable that everyone can't get along here, but I mean, Carl, I think the question of the tent is a little bit of a red herring. Carl Richards said that what's relevant here is the use, not the structures, if a tent is indeed a structure. Carl Richards, you know, there's the Baltimore County zoning regulations, there's the Baltimore County code, and then there's the law according to Carl Richards. And sometimes those don't all coincide, but I think that in this instance they do. And I'm happy to accept Mr. Richards' view that the use has been continuous. As to the special exception for the caretaker's quarters, I see frankly no adverse impact there. I see no reason to limit it to one single person. I don't know why it can't be a couple. It's 800 square feet. Can't have 5 kids in there. So the size limits the ultimate occupancy, but I could imagine a couple and an infant in there, I suppose. Would be pretty uncomfortable, but that would be about the most I could imagine. But I would not limit it to one person. I don't think that does anything. I see no adverse impact, and I see no adverse impact whether there's one person or two people. So, and I would permit the modified parking plan also, whether it's part of the special exception, whether it's part of the non-conforming use. I'd have to go back and check, but I you know, in terms of the practicalities, I see no problem with it. So that's my view.
I agree with you, Mr. Evans. As far as the parking, I have it in my notes as part of the non-conforming use, and it was used, that parking area was used prior to the zoning change, and it's the same as the actual catering center and the meeting place. They were both used prior and after the zoning, uninterrupted. So I agree with you on the non-conforming use for the parking and for the mansion itself. And as far as a special exception, I agree 100% with you as well. I don't see any adverse effects at this, and all the factors in 502.1. I don't see any issue there. And I also agree with the not limiting it to one person living in the living quarters. Obviously, they have to be reasonable. It's only 800 square feet or what have you. So, you can't have that many people there. So,
Right.
I agree with you, sir.
I also agree with both of you. I don't see any reason not to approve this request here. Nothing further to add. My first question related to whether this parking area and lawn was previously used commercially, and I think it was. I mean, that was my comment early on here, but I agree with you both completely regarding the caretaker and the non-conforming use and the modified parking plan.
Okay, well, that would seem to resolve this. Unless anyone has any further comments, we will adjourn and we will issue an opinion in an appropriate amount of time. I think that's it.
Okay.
Mr. Pennington, do you have anything?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to touch on real quick is along with the non-conforming use, there's also the issue of, and it really wasn't brought up during the hearing, that the intensification issue, where even if the tent's considered part of the building, it's still, there was no testimony that tent equated to more than 25% of the building itself. I don't, just looking at it on the surface, it doesn't look like it does anyway. But so I agree that it's a non-conforming use, and I don't think it's an intensification under 104.3 as well. So I just want to make that. I think we might need to address that when we do the opinion.
Okay, that's an excellent point.
I agree.
Yep. Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording, and that will adjourn this matter. And I think we're coming back at least 2 of us are coming back at 9:30 for the next matter. So, all right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Tammy, are you still?